Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I'm a bit late with this video. I am sorry. First I procrastinated because I didn't want to count on my makeup. It was one of those things. And then I got really into reading and I just couldn't motivate myself. And then we had a bunch of company. Things happened, so I haven't been posting very often lately, but here I am finally back to update you. So I do this video once a year. This is my annual makeup inventory. I count everything, I take pictures, and we have a discussion on how much stuff I have. Let us begin. Starting with sunscreen. Last year I had 4 around this time. Right now I have 3. This number goes up and down all the time because I do finish them and move on. So this is definitely not a category that I am worried about. Moving on to primer. Last year in January I had 3. Right now I have 5. This is definitely more than I need. I'm not much of a primer person. I am much more of a use my sunscreen as a primer type of person. I should probably focus on finishing off that First Aid Beauty one. I think that one's probably my oldest one. No, actually I take that back. The L'Oreal Perfecting Base is my oldest one. I don't know, it just takes me forever to finish primers. We'll see what I can do this year. Moving on to eye primer. Right now I have 2. Last year I only had 1. It's only gone up by 1 because I now have the Bobbi Brown enriched eye base, but these two things do different things. You know, the Milani one is an eyeshadow primer that keeps the eyeshadow locked in, whereas the Bobbi Brown one is for hydrating my under eye. Glitter glue, I have 1. I had the same one last year. This NYX glitter glue is never ending for me. I've had it for a long time. I might actually have to replace it at this point, pretty soon anyway. Moving on to foundation. So last year at this time I had 9 and right now I have 10. Salt New York just sent me a backup of my Sneaky Balm. The other new ones in my collection, that Ilia one was actually also sent to me in PR last year. And then someone gifted me the Estee Lauder Double Wear. So even though I did finish 2 foundations last year, I still went up by 1. Again, I'm not too horrified by this number. Let's move on to concealer. So last year at this time I had 5 and I still have 5. I have had quite a few changes in this category. I used to have my Glossier concealer. I gave that to my daughter. She uses that all the time. I did finish off an e.l.f. concealer, and Salt New York just recently sent me their concealer. So even though the number is the same, the actual products have changed, which is fun. It's nice to have a rotation there. And then I have 1 color corrector, the Becca one, the same one that I also had last year. Powder foundation, last year I had 1. Right now I don't have any. That one was the Laura Geller powder foundation. I didn't finish it. I actually gave it to someone. It was not the correct shade for me, even though I thought it was a pretty formula. Loose powders. Last year I had 3. Right now I have 4. I just purchased the Laura Mercier translucent powder. It's a very classic powder. I found it at TJ Maxx of all places, so I am currently testing it. I am wearing it today. I think it's a nice powder. Pressed powder. Last year I had 1, namely that number 7 powder. Well, now I have 2. I've added the Kaleidos powder. I actually think the Kaleidos powder is very, very nice. You don't hear a lot of people talking about that product from them, but it's actually a very nice under eye powder. Moving on to powder bronzer. Here is I have made some really, really big changes. Last year I only had 1, and that would have been the Flower Beauty powder bronzer. Last year, I had some given to me and I purchased a lot to review. So now I have 7 powder bronzers. I look at this picture of my powder bronzers and I feel satisfaction. I really like all of these. So very, very happy with my bronzer collection. Hopefully this next year, I will not feel the need to test so many bronzers. I have so many good ones right now. Same with cream bronzer. I have 6. Last year at this time, I also had 6. I did finish off 1 of the cream bronzers. I know I also decluttered a couple. So even though the number is the same, the actual collection has changed. You'll notice that there is an Ilia one in there as well. That is actually one of their foundations, but it's a bronzer shade for me. So I put it in my bronzer category. Contour, I still only have 1. This is one of the e.l.f. putty bronzers. This is the coolest shade, and I almost never, in fact, I can think of maybe once or twice I've tried to use contour. So I just keep this around in case I ever want to try contouring again, but I definitely don't need another contour in my collection. Powder highlighter. I was actually really surprised. Last year at this time, I had 17. I still have 17. I've just made some changes in terms of what I actually have. I know I gave some away last year and I know I purchased some. Like looking at this picture, I can see the new ones. The one from Fenty is new this past year, as well as that Becca highlighter. Someone gave that to me this year. So, you know, there've been some changes, but the number is still the same, 17 powder highlighters. Moving on, however, to cream. Last year I had 9, right now I have 8, which I was so surprised to see because I know there's been big changes in this category as well in terms of what I actually have. New ones to my collection from last year are the Tower 28, the L'Oreal Lumi, and the Chanel. Now I also have a lot of cream highlighters in face palettes. Actually, that goes for bronzers and blushes and everything, actually. I have a lot of other products in face palettes. Face palettes I'm counting in a separate category, but just looking at this, know that I have more. Anyway, so 8 cream and liquid highlighters. So now we get to the category where I know everyone else was very excited. I was very nervous for this number, but let's talk about blushes. Now, the picture I'm gonna put up is my whole blush collection. I know I didn't lay everything out for you to see. I'm sorry. This is the last picture I took and I was running out of steam. If you guys would like a blush collection video, sorry, I got a hair stuck to my lip. Let me know if that's something that you would like to see, kind of like how I did the palette collection video this year. If you would like me to go through every single one of my blushes and talk about them, I would be happy to do so. I always love to talk about blush. But anyway, looking at this photo, the number that changed the most, very drastically, was actually my number of powder blushes. Last year I had 23 powder blushes, and now I have 41. That is almost double, and that is because in addition to like all the little random ones I tried, I also tried the entire range of the Milani powder blushes last year, as well as the NYX butter blushes. And while I didn't keep all the shades, I did keep a lot, so that really bumped up my powder blush number. I am not horrified. The only thing I'm horrified by is that things are no longer fitting as well in my little blush drawer here, so that is discouraging to me. I don't want to have to get rid of things just to make them fit. I'll have to see what I can do. Oh, the ones on the side, by the way, in the picture, those are the ones that were just on my vanity. So I wanted to make sure and remember which ones I had pulled out for my Shop My Stash. Anyway, moving on to cream blushes, this number actually changed a lot as well. So I had 41 cream blushes last January. Now I have 32. That number really surprised me. I didn't realize how many I had gotten rid of. It's just that some cream blushes I had had for a really long time, and it was time to retire them. So that's why this number went down, and some I did give to others as well. So I was very surprised. I actually went down the number of cream blushes that I own, cream and liquid blushes. For face palettes, this number did go up, which I was expecting. I did treat myself to some nice face palettes last year. I had 11, and this year I have 15. One thing to note with the Salt New York products I have, sometimes I have them in palettes, sometimes I have them in singles, so that can also affect how I count them at the beginning of the year. So, you know, that number may not always be correct exactly depending on your viewpoint, but right now I have a lot of them in palettes, so they're being counted as face palettes. So this number not only went up by 4, but it also changed significantly. There were several that I gifted and gave away to others, and then I got several new ones. New ones this last year was the Auric palette, one of the Hourglass palettes, those 2 Smashbox palettes, and one of the Salt New York palettes, and the Make Up Forever palette. So yeah, a lot of new face palettes this past year. Setting sprays, last year I have 4, right now I have 6. It does take me quite a while to go through a face spray, so I'm definitely not going to be purchasing any more. The new ones that came into my collection last year, let me see, the mini Charlotte Tilbury, and then Urban Decay sent me their new hyaluronic acid all-nighter spray. And then I think I picked up that MAC Fix Plus at TJ Maxx. That's a brand new bottle. And then I finished a couple last year. So that lands us at 6 setting sprays. Lipstick. So this category, I wasn't really sure where to put all my tinted lip balms. I really purchased a lot of them last year. I decided that if they were in like a bullet lipstick form or a stick, they were going to get put in with the lipstick category. If they're in a squeezy tube, I decided to put them in with the lip balm category. So this number did go up quite a bit because of my tinted lip balm obsession this past year. I purchased the entire range of the Revlon Shine lipsticks, so that put the number up quite a bit. So last year I had 31 lipsticks. Now I have 50 lipsticks. I've always loved lip products. Yeah, it's not a surprise to me that I have a lot. Lip liner, last year I had 13, now I have 16. I'm always kind of looking for the perfect shade. I definitely have some that I really enjoy, but I don't know, I'm not too upset by this number. The lip liner takes up so little space. Lip gloss. I was actually quite pleased with this number. In the past, this is a category I've had over 30. So this is definitely a category I'm doing a lot better in. Last year I had 16. Right now I have 13 lip glosses. And if we go over to the category of lip oils and liquid lip balms, I have 8 of these. And then liquid lipsticks, I have 3. Interestingly, they're all from Maybelline. That was not intentional, but very interesting to see. And then when it comes to lip stains, lip vinyls, you know, kind of other categories of lip products, last year I had 5, and this year I also have 5. Moving on to lip balm, last year I had 9, and I still have 9. I finished off a few last year, and then I got a couple of new ones. I think the new ones are the Ole Hendrickson, also the Summer Fridays, and I think the Tower 28 as well were new last year. All right, moving on into eyeshadows. Single packaged powder eyeshadows. Last year I had 6, and right now I have 10. So looking at which ones are new to me this year, that would be the Urban Decay, the Kiko, the Hourglass, and the Half Magic. Moving on to cream and liquid shadows. Last year I had 35, now I have 31. So I actually did not purchase a whole lot of new things last year. So 31 cream and liquid eyeshadows. Moving on to eyeshadow sticks. Last year I had 4, now I have 7. Mascara. Last year at this time I had 11. I still have 11. Of course I have a whole different range at this time. Of those 11, I have 8 open and 3 that are waiting to be tested. Well, the Tower 28 doesn't need to be tested. I know that's one of my favorites, but the other 2 there from L'Oreal are ones I'm going to be testing this year. Moving on to eyeliner. Last year I had 14, and I still have 14. Eyebrow products. This is not a category that's very exciting, and I always have just a little handful of these. Last year I had 4, now I have 6. Moving on to powder eyeshadow singles. So last year I had 137. This year I have 149. That really actually shocked me because I'm like, I know I did not purchase any eyeshadow singles last year. Then I remembered I did do a little bit of depotting. Then I had some people give me some single eyeshadow. So that's how that number went up. Looking at it like this, it doesn't look like 149 eyeshadows, but it's wild how it's easy to collect this many if you like singles. And then moving on to eyeshadow palettes. Again, I just took pictures of my 2 eyeshadow bins. I did do a video going through my entire eyeshadow palette collection if you really want to see each palette. But last year I had 50. This year I have 56, which that tracks. I didn't buy a whole ton of eyeshadow palettes last year. There's just probably 10 or less, I think. And then I did give some away. Looking at these numbers, the only number that's a little concerning to me is the blush number. Not because I'm upset about having so much blush. Nope, I love my blush collection. I rotate through it all the time. It's just like I said, it's not fitting very well in where I have it now. So I don't know, I might have to rearrange some things and see if I can make it fit somewhere else. We'll see. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. At the end of the video is always where I like to share my tea of the day. And today I am drinking one of my favorite teas of all time. I have loved this tea for over a decade, and I'm so thankful that Verdant Tea still has access to this tea. So this is Lao Shan black tea. A lot of times I'll talk about black teas that have kind of a chocolatey aroma or a taste. Out of them all, this is the most chocolatey one. So wonderful. I don't know how they can make tea taste like dark chocolate without adding flavoring. Like, it's not sweet at all, but it's got kind of that cocoa taste. If you like that in a black tea, I highly recommend this one. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you. Thank you for sticking it out with me here on my channel. I'll see you again very soon in the next one. Bye.